Hello everyone, lovely to see you all. Right, firstly a massive thank you to Debbie and to Paul for looking after me at Carden Cottages. They really did do me a massive favour by letting me stay there, so thank you very much to you two guys. Next thing is, I've moved on to Aberdeen. Now I've been here for a couple of days and I've worked hard. The first day I was making notes. I bought a printer, £30. I thought that's a bargain, you get your ink with it, and I needed a printer. So I got a printer for 30 quid and I printed out, I've literally done about 20 sites. I haven't done 20 sites. So I went out yesterday and I filmed 3 sites, I think. And it was only about 8:30. I could not keep my eyes open. I don't know what was wrong with me. I was just so tired. I was falling asleep at the wheel. So I thought I better quit this. Quit it. That was the end of the day. Went to bed. Woke up this morning, ready to go again. Still a little bit lethargic. So I had my hay fever tablet, as you do. Certainly needed it lately. I've been getting it quite bad. And then I realised, I bet it's the hay fever tablets which are knocking me out. And it is. I read the packet. It says, these shouldn't cause you drowsiness. They might do for the odd person, but not for many. What kind of warning's that? I'm obviously one of them people. So yeah, I've just been knocked out by these tablets. Anyway, I've come out today. I am tired. I still can't be bothered. But I've come to a churchyard. I'm going to show you the churchyard. I'll show you the castles I went to yesterday. And we'll leave it at that. And then I won't take a hay fever tablet tomorrow. And I'll be bright and bubbly and ready to go. So just look at what I have seen anyway. It's not... Deep Digger Dan just wasn't in the mood. Might be a bit boring for you, but it might not. I'm just making my way into Cowie Chapel. And I'll just warn you now, there's guys there doing all the strimming in the graveyard, so you're going to get quite a lot of background noise, but I can't help that. Just my luck. You know, they were near the car, about half a mile away, and I've walked on here. They were strimming round there, and then they've come up here, and now they're strimming here. Never mind, we'll make the most of it. Some good stories to tell you in here. So this is Cowie Chapel, also known as St Mary's Chapel, also known as St Mary of the Storms, also known as St Nathanael Chapel, and also known as St Mary and St Nathanael's Chapel. So many names, and I'll try and explain why. Okay, the church dates back to the 1200s. Sorry, it's not a church, it's a chapel. I've read it's definitely a chapel, not a church. I don't know the difference. Can someone please find out and tell me what the difference is between a chapel and a church? It's bugging me. It's bugged me for a long time. So St Nathalan, which is quite hard to say, it actually went under a different name as well. Nachlan. St Nachlan. So I'll call him that, it's easier. Apparently St Nachlan came here and built a chapel back in the 600s. We know that because he died in about 685, something like that. And he put a chapel here. But what's really exciting about this dude is he supposedly hid some treasure. So the story goes that St Nachlan, he had loads and loads of treasure, and when he died the treasure was wrapped in a bull's hide and buried between the churchyard and the nearby burn. I'm not sure where the burn is. I'm guessing it's that over there. I don't know. But they're saying it's probably where the extension to the graveyard is now. So it's not somewhere we can dig up and try and find, unfortunately. But there's an old rhyme which goes with it, and it says, between the kirk and the kirk's ford, there lies St Nachlan's hoard. There you go. Oh, wouldn't you just love to find that? So that was in the 600s, but it was renamed in 1276 to St Mary. I don't know why. They obviously went off this other saint dude and just preferred St Mary, so it was called St Mary's Chapel after that. Some quite important people came here as well, a lot of kings. You had King James IV used to come here, and apparently he used to give a lot of money to at the services, you know, when they go around with the collection box. He'd always give loads, as he should really, he is a king. So at some point, I'm not sure when, they ripped the roof off the church. Apparently it was because there was a lot of scandals But it doesn't say what the scandals were. Now, a lot of local people were using the stone from the roof to use on their own houses, and there was a legend going round that any house built with stone from the chapel would have a rain of blood brought down upon it. I think that's a risk I'd be willing to take, wouldn't you? You know, if I had a dodgy roof and I needed some stone, I'd have probably used it myself. You know, the chances of blood raining down on top of it are pretty slim, and even if it did, it'd wash off next time it rained. One thing which went missing loads of times is the actual lintel off the top of the main door of the chapel. That went missing loads of times, but it would mysteriously come back every time. Although it's not there now, so it did mysteriously come back all the time, but it's not there now. I don't get that bit. That just spoils the whole story, really, doesn't it? Just to this side of the chapel, you've got this weird thing here. Most people don't know what this is, but I can tell you it's a mort house. As in mortuary house. Can you remember I was telling you about the tower in the house in the churchyard where they'd have like a guard overnight looking? Well, this was where they used to store bodies for up to 2 weeks after they'd died, so that people couldn't steal them. Store them in there, then take them out and then bury them later. But yeah, that is a mort house. So this one interested me when I was looking up the research. This is a memorial to the crew of the Stonehaven lifeboat St George. They all died on the 27th of February 1874. What they were doing is trying to rescue a boat called Gracie Dowling. When they saw distress signals and stuff, they all launched the lifeboat and went out for them. But they couldn't catch up with the Gracie Dowling, so they tried to make their way back to Aberdeen port, and they just got to the entrance of the harbour and they sunk, and they died, unfortunately. And 2 of the guys are buried in this graveyard, but I can't find. But the ironic thing is, Gracie Dowling, the name Gracie Dowling just took me interest, so I googled that. The boat is named after a girl who also went to save a ship. She was born in 1815 and she lived on a little island just near here in a lighthouse. Her dad was a lighthouse keeper, and they lived there, and she was upstairs upstairs looking out of the window upstairs one day in the lighthouse, and she saw another ship which had split in 2 on some rocks, and there were some people on the rock. So I think there were 60 people on this ship to start with, but a lot of them had died, but some of them had managed to climb onto this rock. So this Gracie Dowling, she went out with her dad on a little rowing boat, and I think they saved 3 or 4 people and took them back to shore. Yeah, just reading it, it was 4 men and a woman called Mrs. Dawson and a vicar. Now, after this was all finished, they went out looking for the bodies of all the others, and they only found the body of one other guy, I believe, and the children of Mrs. Dawson. Her children were there. So she became a big national hero, did this Darling girl. I'd like to think it was her dad who did most of the work, because apparently she was just rowing the boat, but she is the one who saw the accident in the first place, so I'll give her that. Anyway, her and her dad got a silver award for bravery from the it's now called the RNLI, the Royal National Institute of Lifeboat People, and it was in all the papers, and people were sending her loads of money and things. She got donations totaling over £700, including £50 from Queen Victoria herself. More than a dozen painters sailed to her island to try and paint her, and hundreds of gifts, letters and even marriage proposals. She became really well known, and obviously they named a ship after her, or a boat after her, which unfortunately these sailors back here died trying to save. Unfortunately, Gracie Dowling did die young, aged 26 from tuberculosis. She died, poor lass. Someone else buried in here is a reverend, and I find this quite astonishing. Reverend John Troop. I can't find him. I've looked all over for the guy. He's in the churchyard somewhere, but I cannot find him. Reverend John Troop and 2 of his other dudes. They were imprisoned for 6 months in 1748, 1749 for preaching to more than 4 people. What a crime. What a crime. Apparently he couldn't preach to more than 4 people. So these 3 guys went to prison, and apparently they were doing sermons from the jail cell bars. People would come to the bars of the cell and they'd still carry on preaching anyway to more than 4 people. Unbelievable. Poor dude. And he's buried there somewhere. It's time for me to go through the donations. In the last 4 days, I think this is. Elaine got goosed. Apparently she likes ducks. £22.22. Strange amount. Thank you, Elaine. DeShriver Danny, again, £49. Robert, £11. It says, you saved me £11, so I've donated it. I don't know how I saved it for you, Robert, but I'm glad I did. Please let me know why I did that. Chill Bill, £101, who thought that had taken us over £50,000, but it had actually taken us over £49,000. Thank you very much, Chill Bill. Lars Moller, £1,000. £1,000, Lars Moller. Thank you, thank you, thank you. What a star. The 3rd person on this trip to donate over £1,000. What a star. And that has now put us over the £50,000. Buzzing. Absolutely buzzing. A couple more. Brett Lyons, $30, and Jeremy Holiday, $50. So massive thank you, guys. We've reached us total, and I'm buzzing about it. I had 3 aims on this trip. Number 1, to metal detect a different beach every day. That didn't work. Number 2, raise £50,000 for charity. Done it. And number 3, to make it last 365 days. About a month and a bit to go, 40 days to go, something like that. So, yeah, thank you, Lars. Thank you all who donated. And you can all keep donating, guys. Let's make it £60,000. There's 2 castles I'm going to start with. We've got Slains Castle and Old Slains Castle. I suppose we better start the story at Old Slain Castle. So I've been to Old Slains Castle. I didn't actually do any talking there because I got there about 6 o'clock in the morning. I didn't realise, because I didn't read my notes. If I'd have read my notes, I'd have known. I didn't realise there were houses nearby. And there was a farm and 2 houses. I'm sure I was waking everybody up. So I just took my pictures and I thought I'd talk about it now, which I will. So Old Slains Castle. It's a castle from the 1200s. Now, it was owned by the Comyn Earls of Buchan. I think I've said that right. Let's just call them Buchan, yeah? The Buchans didn't like Robert the Bruce. No. They were on the side of the royalists of the crown. They liked the crown, not Robert the Bruce, who was against the crown. But what they didn't realise is Robert the Bruce were doing pretty well for himself. He actually managed to take a lot of the land over in that area, including the castle. So he said to these people, he says, right, you can get lost. You're not on my side. You don't support me. I'm not going to support you. So he gave the castle to his friend, Gilbert Hay, who was a big supporter of Robert the Bruce. So Old Staines Castle was in the Hay family for quite a long time, a few 100 years. But then it all backfired again. Because in 1594, Hay and his gang, they started a rebellion. They thought they'd have a rebellion against King James VI. And it didn't go too well. King James VI kicked his butt and pretty much bombed the castle. Completely sent it to ruins. There's just one wall left. And the worst part of the story is in 1950, some clown at the planning department for the council said, yeah, I don't mind if you build a 3-storey house in the middle of the castle. That's all right, yeah, you go ahead. So there's actually a house there now, right next to the big wall which is left. And it looks rubbish. It just completely spoils it. I thought I was going there today and it'd be peaceful on the end of a cliff and there'd be nobody there. And there's a house, people sleeping in there, so I couldn't record there. Anyway, enough of that place. We've moved on to the proper place. Here it is, Slains Castle. So the first thing you'll notice about this castle is there's no signposts to it at all. And I think that is because nobody wants to take responsibility for it. Nobody looks after this place. You won't find any National Trust or anything here. It's just all a proper ruin, and it's a very good one at that. No one will want to take responsibility now. I think it was 2013, just 3 years ago. There must be a sheer drop down here. I'm not going to have a look to find out for myself. But a young lad, I think he was 13 years old, fell off here and he died in hospital. I was reading the article last night and a picture of him, such a shame. So he fell off here, and earlier this year a dog fell off, a little terrier, and the Coast Guards rescued it. Don't know if it lived or if it was injured, but one fell off. So the Earl of Errol, he's the one who had the old Slains Castle, and King James VI kicked him out and blew it up with cannons and stuff. He went into exile. He went to Holland, I think, for 3 years. He came back and he went up to King James VI and he says, look, Kingy, I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to be against you. It's just Robert, you know, Bobby the Bruce. He gave me this castle and I should stick up for him, really. And I thought I should. I wish I'd have picked your side now. So King James VI says, all right then, I'll let you off, forget all about it. So this Errol guy, he thought, well, instead of trying to build the old castle back up because it's knackered, I'll build a new one. And he did, and here it is. It's absolutely stunning. So that was in 1597, and then they expanded it again in 1664, making it look even better. And then it was expanded even more in 1836 to make it look like it's, you know, it's finished product, if you like, and a bit of a fairy tale kind of castle. In fact, it's got a story. There's a few famous people who have stayed here. You've got, I've never heard of these, to be honest with you. I think I've heard of one of them. You've got Samuel Johnson and James Boswell. I think I've heard of James Boswell, not sure. I think he's something to do with the Civil War in England. I don't know. Anyway, there was one more person, Bram Stoker. Do you know that name? That's what I do. I've never understood parts like... Got a window up there. I don't know, I just cannot picture what they could have possibly used this tiny little circly bit for. Any ideas, please say in the comments. That looks like an old fireplace on the next level. I don't know how many stories high this was. Definitely 2, maybe 3. There's certainly plenty of little tunnels to go down, but none of them seem to lead to anything. Just like one big maze. So this bit's a bit spooky, but I like it. Got a fireplace in there. Don't know what I think that's where you store. It's a bike store. You store your bikes in there because they didn't have cars in them days. I've got something that's silver there. It looks like a silver bell. I don't know what I'm standing on. I don't want to know. What on earth is that? How odd. It's only made of plastic, otherwise I'd keep it. Don't know what that's for. I'm standing in, I don't know what down here. Let me out. Let me out. It is pretty cool though. Ah, recently. That's not old. Ah, so maybe these big round things did have steps going up. Maybe I should have known that. Well, that's a bit dangerous. Just stops with a sheer drop. Certainly is a lovely place. I'd like to show you some good views, but I'm scared of getting too close to the edge after that lad falling off and dying. But it is beautiful around here. The views from up here are spectacular. Oh my god. Oh my god. Whoa, that is a long way down. If you come over to this one, there's not even a grill in there. I'm scared to get any closer to the edge. God, that is a long way down. You'd have to be very brave to be stood on the end of there, I can tell you. So now I've got another story for you about another castle. But the story isn't really about the castle, it's about some... It was built in 1565 by Lord Sinclair, but he sold it on to the clan Udny. Strange name, Udny. Never heard it before, but he sold it to them, or it was sold on to them in 1634. Now they stayed in there until 1734, when there was a big fire. An accidental fire broke out, and somebody saved all the family, and it was the Jester, the fool, the family fool. They had I don't like the word fool, but they had a Jester, and his name was Jamie Fleeman. It's said that his dog woke him up because there was smoke in the castle, and he went round waking everybody up who he liked. He grabbed a big chest, which apparently only 3 men could carry, but, you know, he was trying to save his life. Grabbed a big chest, threw it through the window, smashed the window. Did they have glass? Did they have glass? I don't know. He threw a chest through the window and they all climbed out of the window. Apart from this woman servant who he didn't get on with, he didn't wake her up, he left her. And all the rest of the staff are saying, oh, go on, go in and save her. He says, yeah, but she's horrible to me. She's always been horrible. Yeah, but you can't let her die. You can't just leave her to die in there. Oh, all right then. So he went back in and he saved this woman. So he saved everybody in the castle. He was a bit of a hero. He became very, very famous. He was actually, they think, he was the last jester in Scotland. The last fool in Scotland. Certainly not the last fool, but maybe the last jester. A lot of people knew about him, including Bram Stoker, who mentioned him in one of his books. It said in one of his books called Crook and Sands, and someone called, a character called Mr. Markham, asked his companion if he'd ever seen anyone dressed the same as he was. He says, no, I've never seen anyone dressed like such a fool since Jamie Fleeman, the Laird of Udny's fool. He was well known for all the... He used to come out with very quick-witted things and say things. And one of them, he found a horseshoe, and he's walking along the street and he sees the local minister and says to the minister, can you tell me what this is? I just found it on the road over there and I don't know what it is. He says, any fool can see that's a horse's shoe. And Jamie replied, what it is to be wise, to not know that it's a horse's shoe. I suppose it was funny in the time, I don't know. It was a summer evening in 1778, and Jamie got soaked. It was in heavy rain, he got really, really, really wet, and he got a bit of a fever. So he's going around people's houses saying, look, can you take me in, give me some shelter for the night, I'm not feeling too well. No one would take him in. So he found a barn, and he put like a plank behind the barn so nobody could get in, and he fell asleep in there. And the next day, the local farm labourers were trying to get in the barn and couldn't, so they broke it down, and the plank behind the door fell and landed on Jamie's head, and he got seriously injured. So they took him in the house and tried to look after him. Jamie says, I don't want to be here, I'd rather be at my sister's house, to be honest. So he walked to his sister's house, which took him a full day, 8 miles away. He walked there and he died there 2 days later. And the last words he ever said was, dinna bury me like a beast. Don't bury me like a beast. I'm a Christian, don't bury me like a beast. So, whilst I'm in the area, I thought I'd come and see his grave. Well, it's actually something they erected well after he died, but I think it is supposed to be the actual place, the actual part of the graveyard he is buried in. I'm not sure. And here it is, erected in 1861 to indicate the grave of Jamie Fleeman in answer to his prayer, "Dunna bury me like a beast." I like this guy. To think he was a jester, that's really cool. Apparently he wasn't a jester full time, he'd help on the farm as well, he was a bit of a labourer. You can't just be a jester full time, can you? You can't be funny constantly. But yeah, bit of a role model for me, a fool. There you go, Jamie. So thanks for watching, people. I hope that didn't bore you to death too much. And I'll see you tomorrow. No idea what my plans are, because I think I'm moving a bit further south, just a little bit. But yeah, I'll certainly be up to something, and I'll get something filmed for you. See you all later on Digging the Coast 3, 6. One last thing, leave in the comments if you noticed anything different about this video. 5.